Hey, this is an Atomic Trivia War 9000 Bunker Talk. We're here to talk about Guardians of the Galaxy. It's Monday after release day, so we've had a full weekend in which to view and then ruminate on the newest Marvel movie. $94 million in its opening 2 days. Does this surprise you, Brandon Hawk, my little brother?
Not a surprise. Not at all.
How about you, Rochelle Mantanona, my friend in Seattle?
Ooga chaka, ooga chaka, ooga. I can't. What?
I think that you guys are probably going to have some glowing things to say about the movie. So let's start off here with just some quick, discrete details. It is the biggest film to open in August ever, replacing the... Do you know? What was first place until Guardians of the Galaxy took its throne?
No idea.
The Bourne Ultimatum was the previous August highest-grossing opener. And
Okay.
this beat it by about $24 million, so just a tiny little bit, you know. Just set that bar, just a little bit. Director James Gunn, you guys know what he's done before?
Scooby-Doo!
And Slither, our friend Omar would be quick to point out Slither. He loves that movie. Movie 43, not much else on the directing end, but he's also written everything from Tromeo and Juliet to Dawn of the Dead. So he's an up-and-comer, and from what I understand, they've already greenlit Guardians of the Galaxy 2. I'm not sure if it's that one or one down the line, but he has said publicly that there's one that's going to be an Avengers crossover movie. So we're going to get both crews together.
Nice.
Guardians of the Galaxy gets 8.9 out of 10 on IMDb, 92% fresh rating by critics at Rotten Tomatoes, and 96% fresh by audiences there. Brandon, I tell you what, since you're a guest, why don't you tell us, why don't you just run it down? Actually, I should call you Dr. Hawk. Dr. Hawk. Because by the time this goes out, you will be a doctor. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Since you're the guest, why don't you give us a quick plot overview? Tell us what happens in Guardians of the Galaxy. Maybe, I don't know, 5 or 6 sentences.
Plot overview. Peter Quill, in moments of anguish and lament, is abducted into the stars. 20-some years later, he's what's called a Ravager, I believe?
Yes, that's correct.
Wandering, ravaging people who basically are for hire for anything. He meets up with several other people in jail, bounties on their heads. Gamora, daughter of Kree Lord, although not really daughter, as you find out as the film goes on.
Adoptive daughter.
Yes, yeah. Drax the Destroyer, Rocket the Not Raccoon, or Raccoon genetically modified, as well as our friend Groot. And I think that's all of his friends. They team up, escape from jail, and then find out that, unbeknownst to them, there's this evil plot to destroy the universe, including an Infinity Stone. The rest of the movie is a series of adventures to destroy the Kree, use the Infinity Stone to save the universe, and become, ultimately, the team known as Guardians of the Galaxy.
So pretty much your standard Dungeons & Dragons raid. You have one of each class. You've got to go and get the MacGuffin.
Sounds about right.
Okay. Let me posit an alternate plot for this movie. Young Peter Quill, at age, I don't know, 8 or 9, loses his mother and is so rocked by grief that he goes into a dissociative state during which he imagines all of these glorious adventures across
This
the
is
universe.
not the last Starfighter. Good God.
It pretty much is the last Starfighter, if you think about it. It's the same exact thing.
There's actually an article, my friend linked it to me. I'm like, I'm not reading that. I refuse.
Yeah, if I had to give this movie a tagline, I would probably say that it is the love child of space opera and 80s pop culture. So, Last Starfighter's not far from that.
You're barely old enough to remember 80s pop culture. Come on. Have you ever even seen any Kevin Bacon movies?
Footloose?
Have you seen Footloose? Not the
Yes.
remake, Brandon.
Yes, I have seen Kevin Bacon's Footloose.
You and I growing up, we always had an 80s fest-a-thon every single weekend, didn't we? We had Big Trouble in Little China,
Yeah.
Tron.
I think I was much more affected by the 80s because of my older brother than I was by living through it.
That's right.
Yes.
I can see that.
Yes.
That's
So I
not
want your quick
fault.
review. In 1 or 2 sentences, Ro, how did Guardians land with you?
It was probably the top Marvel movie I've seen so far.
Really?
Wow.
Yes.
That is high praise right there. I'm not sure that I agree.
I watched it twice in 24 hours.
Maybe we'll revisit that in a quick minute here, but Brandon, what did you think?
I would give it a 9 out of 10, which I have on IMDb. I think that it ranks up there with the Marvel movies, but I wouldn't say it's the best. Not yet.
What would you say trumps this movie?
I think Avengers trumps this movie. Um,
Still, Avengers
like.
seems to have lost its critical mass among the fans in the past year or so. It seems like everybody was raving about it when it came out, and then it's gradually kind of, I don't know, lost a little bit of the luster.
Well, that's how it is. Like, they keep one-upping each other. Like, every time you see a new Marvel movie, it's just like, oh my god, that was great! And, like, you kind of think, oh, the other ones are not as good as the one I just watched because it's something new. So that's why I really like Guardians of the Galaxy. I mean, yes, Avengers is still up there, but I don't know, there's just something about Guardians of the Galaxy, just the whole fact that I was just laughing almost nonstop in that movie is what made it more enjoyable to me.
Personally, I think that I would put this one kind of on a par with Avengers, and definitely one rung under The Winter Soldier. I still really like that movie. I think that Captain America 2, released earlier this year, is going to hold up for quite a long time as the cream of the crop.
It's because you like the whole political themes, isn't it?
Well, I liked everything about it. I thought that the characters were much more grounded in reality. Actually, the two movies do share a lot of the strengths. I think that we'll speak to that a little bit later. For right now, though, let's start off with the easy stuff. Let's talk about the characters. Ro, Nathan Fillion, would he have made a better Star-Lord?
I don't think so. I think, oh god, what's his name? That guy.
Chris Pratt?
Yes, Chris Pratt. I think he did a really great job at it, and yes, it's like. But the thing is, throughout the movie, it kind of reminded me of Nathan Fillion, but Chris Pratt did such a great job. You need a younger guy, anyways, and Chris Pratt's also awesome because he grew up in Washington and he's a Seahawks fan. So.
Oh Lord. My personal feeling was that Chris Pratt was trying to channel everything about Captain Mal Reynolds the entire movie. I thought he was going for the same wit, the same sardonicism, the same negative view on life, with the buried lump of coal. No, the buried diamond in the middle of the lump of coal. That's what I want to say. In the middle of his steely heart.
But again,
that's a big mixed metaphor.
Again, that goes back to the 80s, though, because let's face it, Mal Reynolds really is just an exaggerated, extended form of Han Solo before we see him in the trilogy.
Oh, for a minute there you had me all excited. I thought you were going to say Jack Burton.
Although Jack Burton is also, he's a Han Solo figure too. I think a lot of these owe a lot to Harrison Ford in his...
Snake Plissken, I think you could throw into that list.
Yeah.
I do really like the film, and I got some good laughs. How was the theater experience for you guys? Did you have a good crowd to watch it with?
First time I watched it, it was like the best crowd ever. I was sitting right next to geeks, so the reason why I knew that they were geeks was when like the Hobbit trailer came on. They're like, I was like, yes, these are my kind of people, and we were pretty much laughing at the same moments, and just it was great.
In my crowd, The Hobbit didn't get hardly any play at all. No one seemed to like it. Everybody was groaning. They were rolling their eyes. There were no fewer than 10 trailers, by the way, attached to the front of Guardians of the Galaxy. The one that did get all of the laughs and an awful lot of, are you kidding me?
Dumb and Dumber?
In an excited way? Yeah, Dumb and Dumber 2.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm on the fence with that one.
I did have a pretty good crowd to watch it with, honestly. They were all laughing in the right places and responding in the right places, but I was a few seats down from a woman who would not shut up. She was very obnoxious.
Oh, I hate those people. They deserve to be stabbed.
Yeah, it did sour the movie just a tiny little bit for me. She just kept on trying to insert herself into the movie, like, ha ha ha, everyone, I am the expert on the Guardians of the Galaxy. Let me make my comment to prove my worth here.
Did you tell her to shut up?
Yes, actually.
What'd you do?
I didn't, because I'm not a confrontational guy, not like that. Not when I'm not at work. But I didn't tell her that directly, but I did lean forward and kind of look over at her and give her one of these. Yeah.
No, I'd be like, can you please be quiet? Sometimes I said, can you please shut the fuck up? I said that to people because they pissed me off. Fucking talking to the theater, goddammit.
Brandon, you started to highlight them. Captain Mal Reynolds, Star-Lord is the top character there. Did you like him?
Yes, I did. I think he was. he's a likable character because he's a kid in a man's body. I mean, essentially, I think
Totally.
they really highlight how he never grows up. And there's something
Giving
about
credence
this.
to my theory that this is all an an imaginary journey of his in the moments after his mother's death. Yes, I'm going to keep on returning to that.
I swear to God, this is don't ruin it. You're ruining it.
I did think he was very, very witty, and I liked him. He's the guy I think that everybody wants to be. All guys want to be. You always want to have the exact right thing to say at the exact right time. You always want to say the smart-ass comment and not have to grit your teeth and go with the what am I trying to say here?
The polite thing.
Yes, go with the polite thing to say.
We all want to be the cool, cocky guy.
Yes, we all want to be Ryan Reynolds. Actually, I hadn't stopped to think about it. Would Ryan Reynolds have worked in that role?
No.
No, really? I think
he'd been
Ryan
too
Reynolds
cheesy.
would work in every role.
I think he's
I
got
love
the
that boy.
cockiness, but I'm not sure he's got the boyishness or the
Yeah.
not the right kind of immaturity.
Come to think of it, you could hold this movie up against Green Lantern and kind of see what DC did wrong and what Marvel did right, because they're both space movies.
That's
I mean, the Earth
true.
is in peril in neither of them. You have your cocky guy who didn't want to be a hero but was forced to be a hero anyway in both of them. And Star-Lord didn't have anything to do with Hot Wheels sets. That was the one part of Green Lantern that everybody seems to object to, was the big Hot Wheels scene.
Oh yeah.
I don't even remember that. That's
He makes
how
a
much I
track with his ring.
see. I don't remember that at all because that's how not imaginative or not important that movie was to me. It was not memorable whatsoever.
Yeah, that movie was a blip for me.
So running down the rest of the cast list, Gamora.
Zoe Saldana.
You like her, don't you?
I think she's great. I loved her since I don't even remember like all the previous movies she's done, but I think she did a great Gamora, and she had really excellent action sequences. I think she did really good with the martial arts or whatever she was doing.
Mm-hmm.
What about her character? Because outside of Star-Lord, this is the one big problem that I have with the rest of the cast. They're each given exactly one character trait, and that's all that you know about them. For example, Rocket Raccoon, he's been experimented on and he's bitter about it. You get exactly one scene where he's remorseful about this and he has a little bit of an outburst. Gamora, she's angry at her father. You have exactly one scene where she lashes out, and it does provide her motivation for the rest of the film, but other than that, you don't really get to know who she is as a person. Drax the Destroyer, played by Dave Bautista, you know that his family was killed by what's his face there, the bad guy who is so forgettable in this movie.
Ronan?
Yes, thank you. You know that Ronan killed his family, and that's his one character trait, and so on, right down the line, except for Groot. You don't really know much about Groot at all.
You know that he is Groot.
Yes.
He is Groot.
See,
And
I
so
understand. See, I know that you really like character development and all, and I think if you did character development on all five of them, well, except for Groot, it'd been a little bit too much. And I think I liked how they just had one one thing about them that combined them them together to be able to advance the plot. And I'm okay with that. There was a little bit of development, and perhaps we'll see more in the sequel.
Let's hope so. I'm with Jason on this one. That was one thing where I thought it lacked a bit, other than Peter Quill, Star-Lord. The character development was not there. And I thought that a couple other short scenes would have helped with that. One thing that I think would have helped is a little bit more interaction between Gamora and her sister,
Nebula.
Yeah, I think it could have helped between the two of them because, again, Nebula, I think, could have been a better character, even as a secondary.
Mm-hmm.
Had there been another scene to sort of develop the two of them and why they have this relationship with the Kree.
Put a pin in that, Brandon, because I want to come back to you specifically about that. I know that you're a Doctor Who fan, but just backpedal
1 second,
a little
I got
bit
some
here.
photo people.
This is definitely a Peter Quill, aka Star-Lord, man, movie.
Mm-hmm.
And we do see everything from his point of view, but the rest of the characters are really kind of just mirroring his own his own one thing. You know, he's hurt by the death of someone in his family, and to some degree, so is everyone else who joins the Guardians of the Galaxy.
But Rocket Raccoon says we all lost something, so everyone loses something.
It's a movie about coping with death, and that's the underlying theme, I think.
Yeah.
Lending credence to my theory. Come on, Ro, you know it's true.
I'm not saying it. I actually have an underlying theme that I'll mention towards the end when we talk about more of the movie.
Search your feelings, Ro.
No,
you know
I'm
you
not.
want
I'm
to
not
come to the
saying
dark
it.
side.
So really, in your theory, Jason, each one of these Guardian characters is an avatar of Peter Quill's psyche and dementia.
Exactly right. Almost like he's inventing them with his mind, and one of them is the killer.
And we could probably sift through and break down their Jungian archetypes and do some Freudian Jungian psyche analysis here.
Yeah, except all that Jungian Freudian stuff has pretty much largely been disproven.
Yeah, that's true.
Freudian analysis isn't really used all that much. Come on, Dr. Hawk, you know these things.
But the movies still cling to it. Movies still go back to the same tropes over and over.
The cast list is long. I mean, we could spend 15 minutes talking about each of these people. Zoe Saldana, you mentioned you really, really liked. How about Dave Bautista? Because he's not an actor by birth. He's an MMA fighter.
I was surprisingly impressed by him and his performance, because I thought, originally it was supposed to go to Khal Drogo, Jason Momoa.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh, he should have been. Yeah, I thought he would have been good at it. And actually, I had this conversation with Jeremy about it. Like, do you think Jason Momoa would have done a good job? I'm like, I think he would have did a good job because his face is very expressive.
Uh-huh.
But I think Dave Bautista delivered a lot more of some comic relief. I think he delivered it better than what Jason Momoa would have done, and just some of the expressions on his face and his reactions were just pure gold, and his lines were hilarious.
Jason Momoa. Jason Momoa, a.k.a. Khal Drogo, a.k.a. Conan the Barbarian, a.k.a. soon-to-be Aquaman. I think that he's just too small, physically, of stature, to play Drax the Destroyer.
Really? I thought they were the same
He's
size.
Not a big dude. He's not a big dude. As a matter of fact, I'll bet that... here, I'll tell you what. Ro, I know you love Vin Diesel. You talk about Vin Diesel, and I'm going to try to find out how tall exactly Jason Momoa is.
I'm looking at it right now. I do love Vin Diesel. I like Vin Diesel. It doesn't... It just gives his... when he was born.
6'4" tall. He's bigger than I thought.
He's
tall as... That's tall. That's as tall as Jeremy.
Huh. For some reason, I had him pegged in my mind as being a little compact dude.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, that's pretty
anyway,
tall.
talk about Vin Diesel. You love Vin Diesel. You have a crush on Vin Diesel.
I don't have a crush on him more than I have on The Rock, but I think Vin Diesel's great. He's awesome. He's a geek. And
Would you like some trivia?
absolutely.
You know that Vin Diesel had to do "I am Groot." He said that line like a whole bunch of times in English, right? Different inflections, different emotional impact with each
He did
one.
it over like 1,000 times with different takes, as well as the thing is with James Gunn. I listened to the NPR interview with him, and with that, James Gunn actually gave him a script of this is what actually you're conveying, and it's like a whole paragraph. And then Vin Diesel would actually say it over 100 times for each of one of those takes, and that's why when the whole certain part where they actually had a conversation between him and Rocket's like, well, la 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 la, but yeah, Vin Diesel was actually trying to portray the "I am Groot" in that sort of context of whatever he was responding to Rocket.
Wow, that's good trivia right there. That might be better than what I'd actually intended to say.
Yep, and I even got more trivia for you.
Which was that he also did all the multilingual versions,
Yes.
saying it in all the other languages that it's going to be released in.
I saw
and
that is cool.
His first multi-language effort, apparently.
I saw that video.
Yeah.
Bradley Cooper, voice of Rocket Raccoon. Here's the two weird ones. We've got Vin Diesel and we've got Bradley Cooper, both huge stars, both big dollar actors, but neither of them appearing on camera for a single second in the movie.
It's fine.
It's fine, sure, but it's a little bit odd. I mean, usually if you're going to appear on screen in a live-action movie, your agent is going to demand that you get some face time.
I would assume that these guys are just big enough geeks that they just wanted to be included in a Marvel movie, or particularly this one. I mean,
or to get paid for a Marvel movie.
Yeah, there's that too.
Have
Yeah,
your name associated with a Marvel movie, a successful one at that.
yeah. And I
Bradley
thought it.
Cooper compared to Vin Diesel. How did you feel? Which one did the better job at voice acting?
I felt like Bradley Cooper worked really well. I mean,
Oh
I think he
yes.
did. I think he did a great job. There was just his demeanor, his everything just worked so well. Vin Diesel, it's hard to really judge. I mean, he's got one line over and over, and unless
Mhm.
you're studying each of the inflections with every time he says it, it's hard to really see Vin Diesel as an actor in this movie.
It's funny, a lot of the reviews that I read actually kind of criticized Bradley Cooper's performance, saying that it was somewhat unbelievable, delivered a little bit ham-fistedly in some areas, and that Vin Diesel, while he only had 3 words for the most part to say, he actually did way, way more with those 3 words than
Hmm.
Bradley Cooper did with all of his.
See, I haven't seen the only Bradley Cooper movies I've seen are the A-Team, The Hangover 1 and 2, and there's one more I've seen of him.
Limitless, perhaps?
Limitless. And I haven't
That's
really
nice.
seen him like in a really dramatic, sad role, but I think when he portrayed the emotions of a Rocket, when the whole sad part, I was like, it was really believable to where I was just tearing. I was like, oh my god.
I think it's easy when you watch a lot of movies to expect actors to pull the same performance in Silver Linings Playbook as they do in a Marvel movie, and that's just not the same flavor that the directors are going for. So
Yeah.
it's an unreasonable expectation, I think, that some critics go in it looking at. I think personally that he did fine as Rocket Raccoon. I mean, it's an animated raccoon.
Yeah.
A very well animated raccoon at that.
It was very well animated. Actually, I found it very, very easy to forget that it's a computer construct.
Did
Now,
you
how animated was he? Was he animatronics and computer generated
No,
graphics? I
what
didn't look
happened?
this up.
No, what happened was, no, it was, I'm pretty sure it's 100% computer animated, but there was a stand-in, and that stand-in was John Gunn's, I think, brother, Sean Gunn, who also played Kraglin. He was like the sidekick to Yondu, like the redneck guy.
Exactly.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
saw that.
Good, bring in the trivia row. Well done.
I'm prepared.
You're in this movie. You're just digging into it. You love this movie.
Dude, I got notes.
There's a whole bunch of other people that I want to run down the list on, but we do have to pick up the pace just a little bit. Otherwise, we're going to be here all night. So Lee
That's
Pace as Ronan. I already kind of derided his character, saying that he is forgettable. Ronan is the one that I had a lot of trouble with because he hates everybody on this one particular planet for some reason.
Just because their families were warring. Yeah, him as an enemy wasn't the best.
He reminded me a lot of the enemy in the first J.J. Abrams Star Trek movie. It's like, here comes a bad guy who hates things because he's a bad guy.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah,
You know
he's
that
really he's just the bad guy par excellence. Like he has no real motivation other than being a bad guy. Yeah, that was hard for me too.
I liked his character design. I like bad guys that have huge war hammers. That's all going in his favor.
Mhm.
I like blue skin. I like a lot of things about his character, just not the actual character himself. There didn't seem to be a lot there to dig into. Bad guys are always better when they're the main stars of the film. I think Loki has proven that.
Yeah.
I don't understand why. I mean, Marvel knows that Loki is the big star of the Avengers, and Loki was the big star of Thor 2, and Loki is going to be a big star again. I guarantee it. So why wouldn't they use what they learned from those films?
It's
Build
gonna
on
be-
the back?
Although it worked really well for Winter Soldier for him to be a sort of a character that you don't see a whole lot on screen, but a lot of backstory.
A puppet master.
Yeah.
Michael Rooker as Yondu Udanta. Quick trivia about that character. Yondu, apparently in the comics, was a founding member of the Guardians of the Galaxy. So there's that. Marvel's not really afraid to change the script, apparently.
Mm.
Michael Rooker's always a weird one. He always plays that slimy character. Did anyone else expect him to be the turncoat that betrays the Guardians at the last minute?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
That's what I thought that they were building to the entire film, and I really didn't like his whole psychic whistle thing.
I thought it was kind of cool.
It just seems like if you're going to control something, a whistle's not the best way to control it.
I know it's not the best way. All I gotta do is chop off his head or like close his mouth and.
Cut off his tongue.
Well, I mean, short of cutting off his head, what happens if he's stuck underwater? You can't whistle underwater. He's boned.
How often are space cowboys underwater though?
This is true. Ooh.
I don't like.
Of
where this
course,
is
of
going.
course, a better question perhaps would be, what if he's in outer space? How can he whistle to direct this thing?
There you go. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Michael Rooker, I think that's pretty much all we need to say about him until we talk a little bit more about the plot. But for right now, Karen Gillian's the next one on the list as Nebula. Brandon, you like the Doctor Who's?
I do.
Did it make any difference knowing that that was Karen Gillian, one of the late Doctor's companions?
I was actually, like I said before, I was rather disappointed with this character. I thought more could have been done. She seemed like an angrier mirror of Gamora to me. I mean, she didn't have a whole lot of motivation for being good or bad, other than that she was an angry person, angry at her daddy. And I wanted to see jealous, because, yeah, as was said, she is the less favored daughter. I really wanted to see more from her. I wanted to see more interaction. I wanted to see a little more acting.
I think she's really where they missed the boat on this one because, like we said, Ronan, kind of boring because he's a stock baddie. She at least showed some shades of gray.
Yeah.
And if you know where the entire Marvel Universe is heading right now, it's going to be to the point where pretty soon somebody's going to have all the Infinity Gems. Thanos is going to have them all. He's going to try to rule the universe, all of time and space in his command. And if you read that comic, you know that Nebula plays into that pretty highly. She's a key character.
Well, hopefully she'll come back and they'll be able to pick her up and make her more of a key character then.
We don't see her die on screen.
Yeah, did you like her makeup? I really enjoyed her makeup.
It was actually difficult to tell that it was River's song.
Wait, who's that?
You mean Amy Pond.
I do mean, oh my god, I don't watch Doctor Who. Doctor Who?
I was like, what? Who's
Come
that?
on.
Whatever, they're the same
Alright.
person, I'm pretty sure. All I know is that one really cool chick who was that prostitute on that other show, she was the best companion. That's right.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Her.
Billy Piper.
Yeah, Billy Piper.
I do like her as a companion.
She's on my list. Ro, I know that you like Dijon sauce Hansu.
Jamon Hansu.
No, Digimon Hansu.
Jamon Hansu.
I can do this all day. DJ Man Hansu.
You are a horrible person. Just letting you know that. You cracker.
He played Korath. He wasn't in the movie as much as I thought he would be based on the trailer.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought he was a pretty cool guy while he was on screen. They didn't give him a whole lot to do except be a henchman.
As your mispronunciation of his name, though, one of the things I wanted to bring up was that I think Marvel actually did a pretty good job with people of color in this movie, which is something that we haven't seen a whole lot. We have Zoe Saldana and Jamon Hansu, and there was also Benicio del Toro.
What?
People of color?
Yes.
You're going to put Benicio del Toro in that category?
He's South American,
Yeah.
yes.
He's not white.
Yeah, he's Latino.
Because I'm looking here at the list, and I would be hard pressed to name someone else who is not pretty standard stock white Western
Dave
dude.
Bautista and Vin Diesel,
Yeah.
They're both white dudes.
Bautista? Think about that last name.
Okay, I'm going to bring up his biography here. Let's see where he was born. Do you have any guesses?
My point, though, is that these are people in pretty prominent roles
He's
in the
Hispanic.
movie, and so far we haven't seen that in Marvel a whole lot. And I was glad to see that shift, especially since there's a lot of discussion right now about race and Marvel and comic books.
Well, yeah, but they had red people, they had green people, and blue people.
Yeah, and that was one of my other points, that I thought that the world building behind this movie, one of the things I've always appreciated about Star Wars and Star Trek and is and even Firefly to some extent, although you don't get the alien races. But I really like that race is not really a matter in the film. You see a lot of different races, but it's not highlighted because it's just a de facto given of the universe, that this is just a thing that exists. And I really appreciated that about the movie.
But the Kree did really hate the Zendarians, though.
There is a little bit of genocide problem there, yeah.
I can't easily find much about Dave Bautista's background. Everybody wants to talk about his wrestling.
I
Maybe
can
we'll come
guarantee
back.
you that last name is like a... early life. Dave Michael Bautista is a son of Filipino immigrants to America. Wikipedia. Damn.
Do you know him personally?
Probably. We're probably related. We're cousins.
Other people that the commercials tell me would be in this movie a whole lot more. John C. Reilly and Glenn Close, both horribly underused in the film.
Yeah.
And I thought that it was going to be a straight-up comedy, which it almost is. It's almost a straight-up comedy. But I thought because of their inclusion and the way that the trailers were portraying them, that this was going to be a yuck movie.
Okay.
You know, yuck.
I know. I thought it was
Waka
hilarious.
waka.
Because there's a few moments where I was just like, oh my god. I was like, and I had 3D glasses on, so it was really hard to wipe the tears.
It certainly was the lightest in tone of all the Marvel movies so far, I think.
Yeah, I think it was the wackiest, and it brings out the wacky side of Marvel with the sort of weird things going on in space. It's not Earth-centric at all, like the other Marvel movies, which allows them to do a lot more.
You mean Terran-centric?
Terran-centric, yeah. I mean,
You know, looking at this list here, I think I finally figured out why Ronan wanted to destroy the planet Xandar. It's because Glenn Close stole his Dalmatians.
I hear the Devil Wears Prada, too.
Oh, she was wearing his Prada.
Yes.
That must have been what it was. I was just looking through my notes here.
Actually,
you know what? Speaking of the tone, if there's any criticism to be made of the comedic aspect of the film, I would say that I wanted more. It could have skewed into Scott Pilgrim territory pretty easily. I wanted them to go a little bit more overboard. Do you think that you could have a Marvel movie that is a straight-up comedy and not an action film?
No.
I think that would be really tough.
They did, and more spoilers here, they did feature Howard the Duck at the very end.
Yes.
I mean, don't you think that is kind of a hint that they could be doing a comedy movie?
It could be. I mean, the Collector was the hint toward this one. And several other things. So yeah, it's possible. It would be tough, though, to escape the action-oriented universe.
Yeah, audiences would be like, where's the action? Where's the action?
My favorite parts of the movie were not the action sequences, though. My favorite parts of the movie all had to do with Chris Pratt dancing.
I got a list.
Like
Every
that.
single scene.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that I remember. Those are the ones that stick out in my mind. Why not do a comedy movie that's set in the Marvel Universe? You know, not every comic book has to be about fist fights and stuff. Some of the very best comic books out there are purely emotionally gauged ones.
Yeah.
What was your favorite moment, Brandon?
Oh, favorite moment.
Favorite moment? Like I said, mine was Chris Pratt dancing.
I'm not sure there was a particular moment, but I think the overall tenor of the movie as a sort of, like I said, 80s love child, 80s and space opera really got to me. One thing that I'd like to see is somebody do up a tally and a list of allusions and echoes to other Lucasfilm movies, because the first scene with him with Chris Pratt as an adult really got to me. I thought that was great. It had the goofy dancing, also sort of Temple of Doom beginning scene sort of vibe to it. And I thought that...
I found something. Did you see how fast I Googled that? That's my magic fingers.
Okay.
That's why my wife loves me so much. Vanity Fair's 10 biggest nostalgia triggers in Guardians of the Galaxy. Just for you, Brandon.
That must be new. When I Googled, I didn't find that.
This is a very, very long list. But first of all, 1 out of 10 is Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
Guardians of the Galaxy did very little to try to hide the parallels between Chris Pratt's Star-Lord and Indiana Jones. From the opening, "Throw me the idol, I'll throw you the whip"-esque caper to Quill's leather satchel to a direct Ark of the Covenant shout-out.
Yeah, he's mentioned like Ark of the Covenant, Maltese Falcon. There were so many 80s references. I actually have a list. Give me a second.
Did you make a list in the theater row?
No, I did make a list of like my favorite parts and quotes in the dark. In the dark, I was able to write with my chicken scratch, and it was completely legible.
The Dancing Groot is a reference to those dancing flowers from the late 80s. You've got your Howard the Duck reference. You've got your Space Invaders reference when they're shooting down the stuff that's falling. I thought that was very less Space Invaders. I think that's a mislabeled game. I think that they meant Missile Command.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure that's what they meant. Mixtapes, big 80s reference in there.
Yeah.
The name of Chris Pratt's ship, Star-Lord's ship, did you catch it?
It's the Milano.
Game 4.
Who's the boss?
Yes, Alyssa Milano. James Gunn has confirmed
That
that
was
it's
my
a
trivia
reference.
for you.
Oh, really?
Alyssa Milano. Hot. I mean, not when she was 8. That would be pedophilia. But now she's hot.
Good save.
7 on their list is Peter's mom's description of his father. He was made of pure light. Might be a reference to the movie Starman, starring Jeff Bridges.
Mm.
John Stamos references. Quill refers to John Stamos as a legendary outlaw.
Oh, yeah.
Number 9, his reference to Rocket Raccoon as Ranger Rick, which Brandon, I thought that you would get a kick out of. We got that magazine subscription for years.
I laughed my ass off, and I don't think anybody else in the theater was laughing nearly as hard as
I knew it was a reference, but I don't really remember Ranger Rick. So
Mom and
that was
Dad
the
got
most
us that
hilarious.
magazine for Christmas for like 8 years straight.
We
I
had
wish we still had
stacks of
those.
it. Yeah.
And 321 Contact magazine, that was my favorite.
Oh, yeah, that was cool, too.
And then, of course, the Footloose references. So there's your 10 from Vanity Fair. Other things that you liked, Brandon?
Other things. Hold on. Let me bring up my notes. I also have notes.
I'll go to Ro here while you're looking up your notes.
Okay.
Ro, favorite scene?
Oh, it had to be the last dancing scene with Chris Pratt and Ronan. That was completely just. I mean, it was kind of expected, but at the same time, it wasn't. And then the reaction from Ronan was just pure. It was just pure gold.
You know what I got out of that scene? I almost felt like it was one of Peter Griffin's little asides from Family Guy.
I don't
Because it
remember
just went
Family
on.
Guy.
It went on for like 25 seconds that Peter was sitting there dancing and singing.
Uh-huh.
I was like,
It
yeah,
was
I'll
so
do this. Do
hilarious.
this for 3 minutes.
Yeah, you're like, come on, join me. Okay. I was like,
Oh. Yeah, that's right. I was in the beat. I was in the mood.
it's like, what are you doing? It's a dance off, bro. It was just
That was good. And, you know, it was completely unexpected in this moment of terror and heat. Yeah.
Which is
Brandon,
what-
things that you really liked about the movie? Did you find your list?
I think we've said a lot of them.
Oh, it's not my favorite, but I love the technology of the movie, including the spaceships, like Peter and the rest of the Ravager ships. I thought the design was interesting. You know, unlike the normal spaceships that you see in other movies, I love the maneuverability of it, and the spaceship being able to change, like in regards to the design, like how a bird would adjust its wings. I really like that. Also,
Ronan's ship in particular really looked like a big black raven, the way that its wings were spread.
Yeah,
But-
and they moved, too. They sort of feathered out at different times.
exactly.
Yeah, I think most of the things I liked about the movie, other than the sort of nostalgia or throwbacks, were definitely the universe, definitely the world built behind it. In my mind, a lot of that worked really well. It was greasy, it was gritty, things were dark, like the spaceships looked like they were cobbled together. You know, the same reasons I liked the sort of world building behind Firefly and Star Wars and that sort of tenor. They really captured that pretty well.
Like when they went to the hub of the nowhere.
Oh yeah, and they walk into this giant marketplace, and there's
That's
all
a
these
big
different
skull.
races, and yeah, it's great.
That's awesome. I was like, that is so cool.
A big skull of what, Ro? Did you understand that?
It was ancient. I don't recall.
A huge, ancient celestial being? See, I know that you don't like the Underwear Pervert comics, so I was wondering how much of this stuff you were picking up.
Oh, is it like the guy who eats all the planets?
Galactus,
Yeah.
Devourer of Worlds. Yes, it's not Galactus himself, but there are a few super-powered huge beings, and Galactus is one of them. So exactly which celestial that was is left to be seen. Probably not that important, but it does confirm the existence of the Celestials in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which is it's kind of important.
Yeah.
I mean, because heretofore Galactus only existed in the Fantastic Four movies, which are not Marvel. Those are the Sony Fox ones.
Right.
But didn't you announce that they recently which rights did they recently get back?
Not Fantastic Four.
Aw.
Yeah, they got Blade, Ghost Rider, and
Punisher.
the third one? Punisher.
Those are all returning to the Marvel fold. The rights have been returned. So expect to see some more of those movies.
All three of those are much darker plot lines and themes than we've seen so far with the Marvel movies.
Nobody has mentioned anything about music yet, and I'm really, really surprised.
I was waiting for that. Right after the movie, I went to my phone. I'm like, I need the soundtrack, and I purchased the soundtrack off of my phone and downloaded it and was listening to it in the car.
Yeah.
This somewhat surprises me, Ro, because to my understanding, you're not a huge fan of late 70s, early 80s music to begin with.
Yes, I am. What are you talking
I
about?
thought that you were all about like the wub wubs.
I like all kinds of music. I was raised on 50s, 60s, and 70s music.
Okay, then we're right here. I can feel you, sister.
Yes.
Yeah,
Brandon.
I have not downloaded the soundtrack yet. I would like to. I've been instead listening to the songs that stuck out in my mind that I already have. But
Best
it was a
song
good
on the
soundtrack.
soundtrack, then. You tell me. What is it? What's the one that sticks out in your mind?
Oh, Hooked on a Feeling has been in my head ever since I
Of course
saw the
it
movie.
has.
It's just,
I think-
it's there. Yeah.
I think that the
cowbell.
slick marketing of Hooked on a Feeling is what actually started the fervor around Guardians of the Galaxy.
They
If you
were
take that
very
$94 million that it made in the United States this weekend, I think that you could chalk up about 70 million of that to Blue Swede. Because that song single-handedly sold the movie, I feel.
Yeah, I think that's right. I've even seen on Twitter and Facebook friends who have gone to see the movie who have said, I still have this song in my head, or, references to Chris Pratt dancing to Hooked on a Feeling is really great. I think you're right. I think that's the hook.
I've got the track listing right here, and it's filled with almost 100% diamonds. The first one is the one that I hate, though. Norman Greenbaum, Spirit in the Sky. Can't stand that song. Horrible song. It's just so
Why?
hokey. Because it's like one of those 70s hippie protest songs, and just not interested in that.
Is
Then
it
there's 10cc, which is meh, but then you get five stair steps, Ooh Child. I mean, that's classic right there.
Yep.
Redbone, Come and Get Your Love, The Runaways, Cherry Bomb.
Cherry?
And I'm going to go with that. That is the best song. Maybe tied for number one. I'm going to backpedal a little
The
bit.
scene where they played Cherry Bomb is one of the other reasons
Yeah.
why this movie was fun, because they didn't take it seriously. The scene for Cherry Bomb was basically when they got with the Ravagers and they were going to get ready for the final battle, and you saw Peter and all them dressing up in Ravager gear, and it's like the slow walk that Peter's going down the corridor, and everyone else comes and joins them. You first have Drax join, then I think Gamora, then Groot, or then Rocket comes out and he's like completely adjusting his crotch, and Gamora's yawning. It's like, when you see those like epic walks like to their destiny, they all look all serious. Like all these guys are just like, oh, here we go, let's do this. Like,
Cherry Bomb and
That was
Moon Age
great.
Daydream. I feel that those are the two that really stuck out. It's hard to choose the best one out of those
I'm
two.
not alone.
Because you got David Bowie. I mean, he's Bowie. He's David Bowie.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah.
I've
You
been
know,
listening
and
to
I
that
was
there.
soundtrack.
thinking, I was actually thinking that David Bowie would have made a good collector. Had they
Oh
gone
man,
a
he's
different route.
basically playing David Bowie, isn't he?
Yeah,
He
he
is.
totally is. Yeah.
He's got the
When I-
makeup on, and he's doing kind of the gender neutral thing.
When I first saw the collector at the end of, what was that? Was that the Avengers or Thor?
It was... Where was the collector? Yes, I think he was first seen at the end of the... No, it wasn't at the end of the Avengers, because that was the shawarma scene.
Oh yeah, it must have been Thor 2.
It was Thor.
What
Yeah,
scene?
that's when it was, Thor 2. So you see the collector. I actually thought it was David Bowie at first, until I thought for sure that it was going to be him.
I think that the official canon is that he's trying to pull a little bit from Liberace, but David Bowie, yeah, death of the author theory. It doesn't matter what they intended, it's David Bowie. Ain't No Mountain High Enough is so cliche of a song, I didn't care about that one, but then you got the Pina Colada song, Fooled Around and Fell in Love. That Elvin Bishop is in high circulation on my iPod. Raspberries Go All the Way and Jackson 5. What a great soundtrack.
Yeah, that's great.
And the album art is a mixtape. I was just like, yes.
Oh, very cool. Yeah.
Yes.
Hopefully we'll get to hear more of Mixtape 2 in the future.
I hope
Do
so.
you have anything in your home right now that would play a cassette tape?
That's negative, Ghost Rider.
I just realized that I have 0 cassette tape playing instruments in my home.
I think I have a VCR somewhere, and then that's about it.
Mm,
Brandon, you don't still have that tape deck? You don't still have your big component stereo system that you built?
No, I got rid of that.
Did you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, this
Well,
is killing me because
part of it was ruined with the fire.
when Mom and Dad visited here this weekend, they told me that they got rid of their records and Dad's record player that I had always wanted.
Yeah,
This is
that's awful.
killing me.
That record player had seen better days by the time they got rid of it.
But you don't understand. I grew up wanting that record
I
player.
know.
Did you guys catch the Nathan Fillion cameo?
Was he the big blue dude in the prison?
He was the one that accosted them. He wasn't actually the actor because it was a CG character apparently, but he was the voice.
Oh, okay.
Very cool.
That's what I was guessing, like, because like they had him, and wasn't he also? He's going to be also the voice of Cosmo the dog.
I did not know that, but did you know that Cosmo the dog is a guardian?
No.
Oh.
So they introduced him in this movie. He later goes ahead and joins the Guardians of the Galaxy, and he's psychic, so he can talk to them.
Oh, very cool.
Cool.
I think that maybe they might have held off because introducing both a talking raccoon and a talking dog might have been too much in the initial movie.
A bit gimmicky, maybe.
Yeah.
Just a tiny bit.
Yeah.
So a ton of people walked out at the end, at least in my showing.
They're
The
so
morons
stupid.
leave.
Yes.
How do people not get it yet? Like,
Because they don't. They're
the
not
rule of
down.
Marvel. You stay.
They're not down.
They started to get up, and the obnoxious lady that I mentioned shouted, "It's a Marvel movie. There's a scene. Sit down." And I was like, "Shut the fuck! If they don't want to stay, they don't have to stay. Just let them go." You're not.
Oh, the geeks next to me, they stayed. They knew. I'm like, you guys know the deal. Like, yeah, we know the deal. It was very fun.
What did you think about that after credits scene, by the way? Or I'm sorry, what really I'm looking for the mid credits scene, the one with the collector.
Mid-credit scene?
The one with the collector.
That's the end.
Was it the very end?
Yeah, the mid-credit scene was the dancing of Groot while Drax
Right,
was wiping his
the
blade.
dancing group.
That's right, I forgot.
That was adorable.
That was fun.
adorable.
Yeah, that was good.
And they let that go for a long time too. They let him dance for what, like a minute and a half?
Yeah,
it was a
and
while. Longer
it was
than I expected.
funny.
Yeah.
I think it's good for them to let scenes like that linger for a long time, especially with a fixed camera. They didn't have to pan away or anything. It really helped with that particular scene. But to the button scene, the one on the end with the collector, what did you think of it?
I thought it was funny, but what I thought the last scene was supposed to be Nebula going back to Thanos. I thought that was supposed to be be all dramatic, like a normal, but it wasn't. I was like, oh.
Yeah, I thought for sure it was going to be dramatic, especially after the cute, funny, humorous Groot scene. I thought this is going to be set up for everywhere that Marvel's going with Thanos or with, I figured it was set up for at least the next 5 Marvel movies.
Well, that's what they usually are, right? They're usually a tool to get you hooked in, to pull the old serial trick.
I don't think Marvel cares anymore, though. They've got people hooked in, and this this one was just pure 80s nostalgia gimmick. And it was funny. It worked.
I kind of didn't like the Howard the Duck thing. I just didn't think that it was right for a Marvel movie, even though, yes, I know Howard the Duck is a Marvel character. Yes, he's around for a lot of the comics book stuff. I don't care because it just doesn't work the same way on the screen that it might in the pages. So, whatevs.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess the one thing that struck me the most about all this is you're saying how Marvel doesn't care, Marvel has the formula down, Marvel knows what they're doing, and then thinking, DC doesn't, by comparison.
Oh my! That's one of the first quotes one of the first tweets I put down. I was like DC can they're not even near. They will never be on par with that. To how well Marvel has combined all these movies to one universe, and it works so well.
And I know that we're not saying anything new. This is something that people have been saying on the internet for a long time, but I feel like I'm saying it for the first time finally. I've always tried to defend DC, and all that I could think of coming out of this movie was, wow, they did that with a comic book that nobody knew anything about, but DC still can't get its Wonder Woman movie.
Yep.
Where's my Wonder Woman? You can't even get your big 3 on the screen, DC, and Marvel's putting their most obscure 5 on.
Mm-hmm. They're not gonna come on par. They're just not. There's not one big person behind everything to be able to wrangle in all other good directors and writers, and they all went to Marvel because they knew better.
Well,
I want DC to
now,
succeed.
I really like DC. I love the DC universe. There are things about DC that I like a lot better. I've never really been into Marvel. I've been into Batman for quite a while.
Oh, I don't disagree. JLA is great.
But you're right. There's no big push for it. And I mean, let's face it, Marvel now has the magic of Disney and the whole Disney empire, including all of the LucasArts stuff and all of their spin-offs. I mean, it's hard to do anything on the magnitude that Marvel is doing without that kind of backing.
I think that it breaks down pretty categorically. I think that DC's comic books are superior and DC's cartoons are superior, but Marvel absolutely rules the movie universe, and Marvel, I think, absolutely rules the direct-to-DVD movie market. Because those hour-and-a-half Marvel cartoons, when they come out, are just terrific.
Oh, really? I haven't seen any of them.
Like Hulk versus? Really like that one?
Haven't seen it.
Yeah? He fights the Wolverine? Yeah?
I'll have to watch that.
He fights the Thor? Yeah?
Can we talk about quotes of the movie?
Do you have some favorite ones? Is that what you want to bring up?
I wrote down so many quotes.
Okay, go ahead and run down your list of quotes. Because, sadly, one of the things that I could not remember coming out of the movie was direct lines. For some reason, my brain just did not retain them. So dazzle me with your memory.
Okay. One of the first ones was when Rocket shot Peter with the electric bolas. He's like, "Right, little man." Like that whole first Rocket scene where he's like looking at people like, "Look at this. Look at this." Wait, look like a kid. Like, look at him. He can't even walk on his own. And I was like, "Oh, that's great." And then the scene between Gamora and Peter. Gamora's like, "I'm a warrior, an assassin. I don't dance." Really? Well, on my planet, we have a legend about people like you. It's called Footloose, and in it, a great hero named Kevin Bacon teaches an entire city full of people who, with sticks up their butts, that dancing, well, is the greatest thing there is.
I think that was the line right there that got the biggest response from the crowd.
Who put sticks up their butts?
I'm guessing probably that the one that's coming next is Drax.
No. Gamora says, "I will not succumb to your pelvic sorcery."
Yes, that was a good line.
And the ship, Gamora's like, "And by the way, the ship is filthy." And then she walks up the stairs, and then Peter's like, "Filthy?" She has no idea. If we had a black light, it would look like a Jackson Pollock painting. That's just so nasty. Funnily enough, well, I guess people understood the reference to it because it had black light, but I really don't think they knew what a Jackson Pollock painting was. That's just me, though. But yeah.
Well, you knew what it was, right?
Oh, I knew what it was.
Well, why would you assume that no one else did then? Do you think you're smarter than everyone?
Absolutely.
One of the things I wondered was if Peter Quill was abducted at what age? He must have been 7, 8, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
How does he have all of this obscure 80s reference? Like, how does he know what a Jackson Pollock is?
It was 89. Or was it 88? He was abducted in 1988.
Okay.
But how do you expect an 8-year-old kid to know Jackson Pollock? That was one thing that I've sort of wondered about is where does all this 80s knowledge come from if he only spent the first 8 years of life on Earth or whatever, 6 years?
It was a little bit mature. Yes, the Jackson Pollock reference. The other stuff, though, Alyssa Milano, Footloose, Kevin Bacon, right?
Oh, yeah,
that's
all
good stuff.
Hold on, I got some more. She betrayed Ronan. This is Peter. She betrayed Ronan. That's when you, like, the whole finger across the neck, and then Drax like, "Why would I want to put a finger on his throat?" And then Rocket later on is like, "Metaphors go over his head."
Yes.
Drax, "Nothing goes over my head. My reflexes are too fast. I would catch it."
You know what I really, really liked about Star-Lord? Chris Pratt had some good lines, but it was the way that he delivered them in that halting, almost Archer-ish way.
Yeah, like, come on, man, Star-Lord.
His delivery reminded me a lot of H. John Benjamin's, even though, I mean, his tone is different, his voice is different, he doesn't have the same timbre or quality, and his character's not a complete, well, maybe he is a complete jackass. Maybe he and Archer are very similar.
They are similar, but not as jackass as Archer. But yeah, when it's Korath that finally acknowledges him as Star-Lord, he's like, finally.
Yes.
Like a smile on his face. No, there's like so many good, but when they finally land in the ship and they're like, and then Gamora's like, "We're just like Kevin Bacon."
Yes.
But, you know, I did open up kind of by criticizing the cast, saying that everyone except for Peter, everyone except for Star-Lord, had kind of that one character trait, and that's the entirety of their character. The rest of it is two-dimensional. I don't want to overstate that, though. I don't want people to walk away thinking that I'm down on the writing. I think that that's kind of a casualty of the fact that you have to fit everything into the movie. I want to say something really good that I liked, though, about the way that the characters were set up, and that's that they aren't normal superhuman fare. Like, none of them have the power of flight, unassisted. None of them have laser vision or super strength or, a lightning hammer or any of that crap that you normally would see other superheroes have, a superpower that defines them. And I thought that that made them a lot easier to empathize with. The fact that even though some of them were, I mean, by definition, alien, they were more human characters, and they could have at any moment, any one of them could have died.
Yeah.
I don't want to walk the spoilers line there, but
I think we kind of spoiled a bit of it. We spoiled a lot of it already, but it doesn't matter. I'm like, people, you shouldn't listen to this if you haven't seen the movie. Just saying.
Unlike with Superman, unlike with, say, Wolverine, I mean, there was a chance that they could lose at the end.
But they kind of did.
They maybe did. I mean, but there was always the chance that Ronan and Thanos would have just showed up and squashed them because they were just people trying to fight gods.
Right.
And I liked that. And they were also all a little bit morally gray.
Okay. You also know that's like I had like this thing where I wrote down how this movie has a lot of references and it kind of reminded me a lot of Firefly because like the whole how Peter was almost like Mal. The Ravagers' outfits look like brown coats. But also this is one and they're like not conventional heroes like they're just people. But it reminded me of the whole shooting first or like how Mal's like you shoot back like it's 3 times in the movie people were monologuing and all of a sudden boom like okay the first scene was with Nebula like where they got to inside the Dark Aster Kree warship and then there's a confrontation between her and Gamora and then Nebula starts to talk and then all of a sudden Drax just blasts her at that scene.
Yeah.
I was cackling so hard in the theater, like I ended up being the only one really that continued to laugh, because like you don't expect them to like do that normally. You only have like the bad guy keep talking until like they do the fight, and they also did that again when Ronan was holding up Drax by the neck in the warship, and then Rocket the Raccoon comes with the spaceship and just like totally plows into them. As he's like, I do remember you, and like Ronan was like, I do remember you, Drax. And then the third time, of course, was when Ronan was on, he survived the crash, and he came out of the ship, and he was like, no, I'm gonna destroy you. And then all of a sudden, ooh, like 3 times.
All of those
don't model.
And all of those, it's funny you bring those up because again, another '80s echo or illusion. I thought all 3 of those reminded me of Indiana Jones. With the guy with the sword who brandishes his sword, swings it around him, looks all badass, and Indiana Jones is having none of it, pulls out his gun from his holster and shoots the guy. And they all were like that. They're like just this hilarious moment.
Eminently practical instead of trying to show off with their fighting skills.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I think that that's really all that I've got to say about Guardians of the Galaxy, and we are running right up against an hour long. I didn't think that we would talk for an hour. I thought we would talk for 40 minutes. But is there anything that you want to point out in closing? One last chance. Go, Ro. I know you're dying.
Okay, so this is what was one of the lessons that we said about this movie? What was like one of the first lessons? I forget.
The theme of death and loss and
okay, exactly. Okay. Well, here's one of the lessons I got from the movie. So, from the scene towards the end where Peter grabbed the Infinity Stone and it has everyone else grabbing onto him so they can take in the power. That's when I realized that the lesson in this movie is similar to a certain animated TV show called My Little Pony: Friendship is Magic, and that the power of friendship conquers all.
Or it could be that to resist the power, all of the different shattered aspects of the dissociative state of Peter's mind had to come together. Almost as though he were reacting positively to therapy and becoming a whole person again after the death of his mother.
You are way more full of it. I'm sorry. That was friendship. They talked about friendship.
To bring it back to the formula, the Marvel formula, too. In a lot of ways, this movie reminds me of the Avengers because it's a bunch of people who don't get along in the beginning, who have to because they're forced into the situation, and by the end of it, they're besties.
Did you guys tear up at all?
I don't tend to tear up. I'm not that kind of guy. But there were feels.
I teared up in the beginning. I teared up when Groot was when they were in the dark area and Groot had light come out of his plant body.
Yeah.
And then I, of course, cried when Groot decided to become a shield, and between him and Rocket, and he's like, "Why are you doing this?" And then he replies to him, "We are Groot," which means we are friends. And I was done. I was like, "Oh my god, I can't do it." And then towards the end, where Rocket is just holding this twig, and he's just sobbing so much. Like I was like, you just felt his hurt, but then it was kind of relieved when you saw Drax sit down next to him and just like pet him.
Yeah. Oh, that was great. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
that was brilliant. There's so many brilliant.
The other moment with the feels was when Rocket has his little breakdown and almost kills people for making fun of him. That to me was good. When you realize that he's like he's not human, but he's got these feelings and he's. Yeah, that got to me. Other than the very, very first 5 minutes of the film, which sort of rip your heart out and stomp on it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I need to watch this movie again just to laugh.
You've already seen it twice?
Just twice.
Just twice.
Jeremy and I actually watched the Avengers. Well, yeah, Jeremy and I actually watched the Avengers 3 times in the theaters.
So you have to beat your record, is what you're saying.
Or match it.
Okay. Anything else? Last chance. Last call.
Hold on. I think Did you guys laugh like hard as hell when Groot decided to like stab everyone? Those 10 guys coming down the corridor, and then just flail him back and forth against the wall.
Yes.
Like
I
bam.
didn't laugh hard as hell until he turned around and smiled.
No, but did you see the part where they shot to Peter and Drax, and Peter was just like, whoa, and then you see Drax just smiling like with a maniacal smile and just like nodding his head. He's like
a psychotic smile, I think is what you mean.
Yeah, psychotic smile. It was great. Oh,
okay.
God.
Yeah.
That is a great up note on which to end the podcast here on Guardians of the Galaxy. So thank you very much to my little Bueva, little baby Bueva,
Oh,
Dr.
God.
Brandon Hawk, and to Ro, I guess, I suppose.
Yeah,
We'll
good.
see everybody next week on some more Atomic Trivia War 9000.
I am
long.
Groot.
You are who?
I am Groot.
You're who?
Groot.
Is that all you say?
I am